This could unlock the Edmonton Oilers as we have multiple lineup changes ahead of tonight's game against the New York Rangers at Madison Square Garden, where the Oilers, their top six, looks much more faster and a little more skillful. All that more today here on Oilers Digest. Hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving there. And before you settle in with your Thanksgiving leftovers, make sure you subscribe here to Oilers Digest as we just hit 4,000 subscribers. And hopefully you can help us on the road to 5,000 by hitting that button down below if you haven't already. There seems to be a very exciting start to the Oilers season there, and they head out on the road against the New York Rangers tonight at 5 o'clock Mountain there. So, a little bit of an earlier game compared to the two 8 o'clock starts that we've had back to back. But the Oilers in Rangers there as the Oilers head out on a 5-game Eastern road trip there. Taking a look at the Oilers morning skate here, courtesy of Bob Stauffer. The top six looks so much better there with Draisaitl, McDavid, and Andrew Mangiapane being elevated up to the first line there, right up alongside McDavid and Draisaitl. I'd still rather McDavid and Draisaitl center their own lines, but I'm not going to beat that dead horse any further there. But making his Edmonton Oilers debut tonight is Jack Roslovic alongside Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Matt Savoy there. So a speedy second line for the Oilers. And making up the bottom six tonight is Vasily Podkolzin. Trent Frederic making his Oilers debut at center there. Said he wanted to play a little more center this year with the Edmonton Oilers. So Kris Knoblauch appeasing Trent Frederic by putting him in at the 3C spot, and then Kasperi Kapanen makes up that third line there. In the fourth line with Ike Howard, Adam Henrique, and David Tomasek there, with the extras being Mattias Janmark still in the IR, Noah Philp in Curtis Lazar there. Now, I'm happy with this lineup, except I would put, Philip in for Adam Henrique. He seemed to be rewarded by scoring his first NHL goal by being scratched the very next game there. And on the back end there, Mattias Ekholm in Evan Bouchard, and then Troy Stecher next to Darnell Nurse in place of Alec Regula, who seems to be dealing with something there. I'll get to that in just a second. And then Brett Kulak in Ty Emberson, and then Jake Wallman still on IR there. But we could see him as early as Thursday against the New York Islanders, with Stuart Skinner getting the start in net tonight against the New York Rangers. Now, when it comes to, Philip, and just the way, that Kris Knoblauch had decided to take him out of the lineup, it's difficult to take anybody out. Yeah, he scored on Saturday, but we just felt like moving the lines around. And he's somebody that's not on special teams. He's not on the power play or penalty kill, so that's why he's the one coming out. There are pros and cons to these decisions. It's nice that players know what role they have, but it's also good to have that internal competition to push guys in the lineup there, and that just goes to show how deep this Oilers team is, where, a player like, Noah Philip, or even guys like Curtis Lazar still hasn't seen any time with the Oilers this season, but those are the extra forwards there. So again, very, unfortunate, but, if that's the only mistake Knoblauch is making with, Henrique in for Philip, that's pretty much a wash. Loving this lineup here tonight, including the back end there with Stecher in for Regula there. I mean, what we saw from Nurse and Stecher last year during the regular season, not so much the Stanley Cup playoffs, but those two are very consistent as a pairing there. And then Stuart Skinner, I mean, solid record against the New York Rangers. And you know what? I'll cut him some slack tonight. Hopefully Stu can get back on his game at the Garden tonight there. And, for Adam Henrique, I don't think he's going to be taken out of the lineup anytime before his 1,000th game there, as he is 5 away from 1,000. So I think that would just be, heartless to, do that to Adam Henrique, continuously scratching him to, sort of put away that 1,000 game milestone. And it's not like he's, completely useless on the ice. He is on the PK there, but his good days are certainly behind him. But the good days are ahead of us for, the line of McDavid, Mangiapane, and Draisaitl. We haven't seen them much together with only a minute 18, but you can see, the stats with McDavid and Draisaitl. So far this season, they're dominating the opposition for the Corsi 4 percentage, Fenwick 4 percentage, outshooting the opposition, and we all saw what Mangiapane did with the line with Savoy and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins there. Sure, he almost scored on his own net, but, he's a goal per game right now there, so I'm very, very excited to see what he can bring to that line of Mangiapane. asked about the task of being next to McDavid in Draisaitl. They're two great players, right? I'll try not to think about it too much and just go out there and continue to play my game. Just get open and they'll find you. So that's my attitude going into tonight. It feels good to be out there. Hopefully, I can just continue with the success there. And I've been loving what Mangiapane has brought to the Oilers so far. They're bringing that 5-on-5 scoring, something that the Oilers desperately needed and will be helped with tonight with Jack Roslovic there making his debut on the second line. Some more injury updates from Kris Knoblauch regarding Jake Walman. Again, hopeful he can play Thursday against the Islanders. Mattias Janmark can possibly play by the weekend there, as they do play New Jersey on Saturday afternoon. And Hyman, LTIR, no change in the timeline, so we could be seeing him as soon as November 1st. And Alec Regula, due to the 2 Kane hits, hopeful to play at some point on the trip there. So they're just probably being mindful of his health. I know he dealt with a whole lot of health issues last year. That's why he wasn't able to play at all last year. But you can see the damage that he took from Evander Kane. We'll get to that in just a second there. But, for the Oilers roster, I mean, this is, extraordinarily deep. Again, we haven't seen Lazar, Janmark and Hyman still injured, Walman still injured, so there will have to be some, cap maneuvering by Stan Bowman to, get some of these players back into the lineup, especially when Hyman comes back into the lineup. And Walman, too, almost forgot about him for a second, but this is just how good this team is. Savoy, Ryan, Nugent-Hopkins, Roslovic, and then, the third line, which I think might surprise some people tonight with Podkolzin and Frederic in Kapanen in there. I think that's going to be a dynamite third line. Hopefully Frederic can sort of come back down to earth after being on that first line and be able to play his style without, again, being too careful about the way that he plays. I know when players are with either McDavid or Draisaitl, let alone together, you can kind of see them sort of overcompensate their game to sort of, impress the two players. Like, okay, I got to be at my best here. But hopefully, with two players that are similar in his play style, Podkolzin and Kapanen, two guys who are dogs and willing to do anything, go into the corners, do the dirty stuff. Hopefully, Frederic can, again, go back to the way that he was with the Boston Bruins before he got hurt in Boston there. But again, Regula still, feeling the effects of not one, but again, the other Evander Kane hit there. The other one, I should say, that should have been a penalty, obviously, but 2 hits to the head. Not the greatest recipe for success with Regula there. But going back to this one, Stuart Skinner between the pipes for the Oilers tonight. He is 3-1-0 in 4 games with a goals against average of 2.25 and a save percentage of .926 against the Rangers in his career. There you can see 3-1. The only loss that he suffered against the Rangers, the Oilers were shut out in that game 3-0, so that couldn't have been his fault at all there. All love to Stu, but hopefully he can continue on that win streak against the New York Rangers there. And as I mentioned, the Oilers 5-game road trip, New York, in New York again, the Islanders on Thursday, New Jersey, Detroit, and then Ottawa before coming back home to Montreal before going back out on the road back-to-back against the Seattle Kraken and the Vancouver Canucks there. So the Oilers on the road a lot over the next 2 months to be exact. The Oilers will have played all 16 Eastern teams on the road by December 18th, and this bodes well for the last half of the season there, where the Oilers hopefully will do some home cooking when it comes to the Oilers in the road trips, the team bonding. It's nice that we have a road trip like this early in the season, and especially during the next 2 months where we spend a lot of time together on the road due to the travel schedule. The more time you spend on the road, the more you get to know your teammates, and it makes it better for the grind of the season. In the long run, it's good for the team to do that team bonding there, especially some of the rookies. Knoblauch said, we're taken out to dinner by the vets. I mean, what better place to do it than in New York City there? So it's nice to get them accustomed to the NHL. Ike Howard said, he's never been to New York at all. So the whole travel compared to, the college scene there where, it's a little more of a grind. It is a whole new world for the younger players in the NHL. As we look towards tonight's opponents, yes, the New York Rangers, the Broadway Blue Shirts, the first line with Artemi Panarin, Mika Zibanejad, and Alexei Lafreniere, Will Cooley, JT Miller, and Connor Sheary, Johnny Brodzinski, Noah Laba, and Taylor Radish, and then Adam Enstrom, former Oiler, Sam Carrick, and Matt Rempe there. So a very, very big fourth line there for the New York Rangers, something the Oilers will have to look out for tonight. And then their deep pairings, Vladdy Gavrikov and Adam Fox, Matthew Robertson and Will Borgen, and then Urho Vakanainen and Braden Schneider with Igor Shesterkin there. So again, the Rangers haven't gotten off to, the best start so far this season. So the Oilers hopefully will take advantage of that. I mean, they've been having pretty good success in the Garden the last 4 years, and hopefully they can continue that tonight. And we will have a recap for you tomorrow afternoon. Make sure you let me know down in the comments what you think about the whole lineup situation tonight, and when everybody is fully healthy, who would you like to see in the lineup? And if you haven't already, folks, make sure you subscribe here to the channel for any and all Oiler news. Oilers Digest is the place to be. Take care, enjoy the game tonight. Let's go Oilers. I always love when the Oilers play at Madison Square Garden. I don't know, just the whole aura and just the whole history behind MSG. Such a historic place to play, and it's always better after an Oiler win. Take care, enjoy the game. Let's go Oilers. I'm Matt.